right? Now he's up a little bit too, but to make it a little harder, we want to take your elbow and push it forward a bit. So I'm here. So I keep the load in a lot more challenging way of where my elbow is. So the further my elbow's in front, the harder it's going to be.
Here's Johnny.
Lifting it up, but then obviously you're gonna put... What is up? It's your boy Johnny Revive, BB Pro, Mr. Tell Like It Is. Welcome back to another episode of Coaching Up. Today we're coaching up your boy Mike Thurston, Mr. Thirsty McThurston, the thirstiest of them all. God damn, he's thirsty. He's so thirsty. You can't even say his name without saying thirsty. Anyway, we're gonna coach up one of his latest videos, his shoulder and arm workout from his split that he's doing on his app and whatnot. So exercise for exercise and see how we can optimize it for you guys. You guys can follow along. He's got some really, really good pointers in his video, but some things that I like to correct in there as well too, for you guys to kind of figure it out when you're doing your shoulders and your arms. Good little split to do anyway. Shoulders and biceps, pretty dope actually. So let's get after it. Let's go.
These are very good for opening out the chest, loosening up the shoulders, which is going to be important, particularly as I'm doing an overhead press.
Okay, so in his warm-up, I like how he's actually doing the overhead pass and he's kind of giving you guys ideas how to, warm his shoulders up. I like the cues, but I want to give it further, guys. You've probably seen me do this video enough times. When we're doing these, just make sure we're pushing away from our body. We want to make sure our arms stay straight. His elbows are bending a slight bit. Could just be, I don't know. His arms aren't straight enough for me. You want to make sure your arms are straight when we're doing this. So however far away your hands have to be when they're straight to be able to go back and over, that's where they should be. Don't try to squeeze over and do this when you're passing over. Open right up and down and back, pushing away from your body. So I'm pushing away, pushing away, pushing away. I'm really opening that shoulder up, taking my time, breathing in and breathing out, breathing in and breathing out.
Warming up with some light weights.
He moves on to warm up after doing that with the movement he's actually doing first. So when it comes to me again, when we're trying to warm up, we want to go over, like our warm up is basically us practicing doing the rep properly. So when I see people go and warm up their shoulders and they're gonna obviously do a heavier weight and they grab the weight, and the points are good he's giving is to make sure that when we're kicking these weights up that we are, we get it to our shoulders first, get ourselves planted and then start to press. But again, when you're pressing, we're pushing this thing up, shoulder pressure, and pushing ourselves into the ground. Now when he's pressing, our elbows are kind of doing this and kind of doing this and coming in. Right? And he's kind of going fast. So I want you guys to think about it when you're doing a warm up, that you're practicing doing the rep as if you're doing your hardest set. Not necessarily in terms of like intensity, but just form. How are you gonna be breathing? How are you gonna be planted from the ground? How are you gonna engage your core? So here's my set. Butts the back of the bench, feet are planted on the ground, a healthy little curve in my back. Elbow's gonna come in a slight bit, not out to this side. Gonna have them in a little bit here. I'm pressing up. And then controlling it down and just really warming up the movement and how we're actually gonna perform the rep when it comes to our working set. So don't just get here and start doing this and then all of a sudden think you're warmed up and then do your tempo. Warm up your tempo, practice your breathing, practice your form, practice everything. Practice everything. Just practice. Put that clip in there, put the clip in there. Practice, put it in there.
We talking about practice. Practice?
Ew, hey, whoa, what's up guys? Hey, a lot of you guys watch the videos but not subscribed, so make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Also hit that post notification button so next time I put a video, you'll be the first ones to get it. And hopefully you guys like the video by now, so click that like button as well. Anyway, back to the show.
For everyone, you've got to determine what angle you're gonna have the bench at.
Okay, so touch on one of the points he made in the video was basically where you should incline the bench when it comes to your shoulder mobility. So if you can't externally rotate as much as you should, then you should have the bench, further back, which makes sense if we're just trying to like train our chest more, right? Because obviously if you put the bench back more to favor the angle, you're gonna end up doing chest. So my advice basically is get your mobility straight, start stretching, do some mobility work. I got a ton of stuff I'm coming with the mobility, and just get into a machine first. Get into a machine or a Smith machine so it's easier for you to get into that place and have a slight incline on your bench so you're still primarily basically vertical in this. So get into a machine. If you have a machine, great. If you don't have a machine, sit with the machine, have the bench like this, and then again, it comes to mobility. So don't try to use dumbbells if your mobility isn't that good and you're trying to do something upright, and then don't try to compensate by, inclining the bench. Moving on to dumbbells, like the way he was doing it, but again, I don't know if he was purposely doing this or not, but if you want to get the fullness out of a bicep curl using dumbbells, it's all going to be depending on where our elbow is in relation to where we're pulling. So if I'm sitting back like this, and right now it's pretty good posture, chest is up, but if I start bending my elbows, well, then I'm kind of getting this like drag up here. Now this is still good, and this is still proper if your intention is to do somewhat of a drag curl or to give yourself a little less of a challenge. Now to make it harder, right? Now he's up a little bit too, but to make it a little harder, we want to take your elbow and push it forward a bit. So I'm here. So I keep the load in a lot more challenging way of where my elbow is. So the further my elbow's in front, the harder it's going to be. Lifting it up, but then obviously you're gonna put a lot more tension on your bicep the entire way. And we wanna avoid doing this and then our shoulders rolling forward. So when you're doing this, again, this isn't a bad way to do it, not at all. But if you want more of a challenge to actually get the load onto your bicep entirely in that supinated position here, just push your hands this forward, let the weight drop your hands so it's creating shoulder depression. And then while you're doing that, pulling up. And obviously engage your core when you're doing this.
Trying to keep my arms straight, no bend at the elbow.
So next we're doing cable lateral raises. He's doing unilateral lateral raises with the cables, but he's using a band, basically like an ankle strap around his wrist, which is like a really good move. I do it all the time when I have a chance to do it. It's very, very, very good to do because it takes the gripping and part of that out of the equation. You can literally focus just on your shoulder doing the movement itself. But again, when it comes to this, we can optimize it as well. I am picky when it comes to form. So while we're doing this, a really good thing to do is when we have this connected is to make sure our hands still have some type of, purpose of being there. We don't want to just like hanging around. So if we're not using it, we don't want to just be kind of like, picking this thing up and just kind of doing some weird stuff, right? We don't want to, grab a good hand. We don't need any of that stuff, right? So again, when it comes to this, we're still like pretending like we have a dumbbell in our hand, but I'm not necessarily squeezing really hard. I'm just trying to keep my hand, my wrist in that nice, good neutral position where it's strong from here, right? And again, I wanna make sure I'm pulling from up here so I'm not having any kind of manipulation from my wrist. Now, again, from here, a couple things you can do. And I don't know if you guys tried this before. It's a really cool thing to do, but get somebody to kind of do this. Like you hold your hands straight like at 90 degrees and make a fist like that. And have somebody push as hard as they can down like this and see how hard you can keep it up. Now, do the same thing again with your hands spread open like this, and then do it and push down, and you'll find yourself being that much stronger. Why? Because when you do this, it basically expands the muscles here and it makes it stronger in the sense of you having your hand open instead of kind of closed, right? So really weird, but what you can do is have your hand like this. So we're pulling up. I'm still connected all the way through. I'm not pulling from my hand, but I'm strong from my hand all the way up. So when I'm pulling, yes, I'm pulling from my wrist, basically all the way from my shoulder. I'm not really necessarily trying to pull this up, but the tension is here, and my hand is strong from here, keeping a nice angle, like keeping my arms straight and pulling up. And I can really think about pushing my body away when you're pulling, right? Now again, if you're not gonna do this, all right? You're still only lifting from your shoulder still, right? We don't want this to just be hanging like this, or kind of like this, or kind of like this, where you're trying to lift up with this because that's gonna manipulate how your shoulder extends. So again, having a straight hand is gonna keep your arms straight. Same with doing a fist. If we try to manipulate too much, we'll kind of do this kind of stuff and end up doing the same similar thing people do when they do dumbbell mistakes, is pulling back like this. So straight hand, pulling up.
Elbow fixed by the side.
So next thing he's doing with this superset is a dumbbell curl. cable curl, which is cool. I like it. This is really good pose muscles to do. This would be like almost like a push and a pull in the same day, right? It is a push pull in the same day. So from here, again, if your intention is to do a drag curl, right? Then yes, have your shoulder back here, your arm back here, and pull. That is completely fine. What you wanna make sure when you do this is that your shoulders don't roll forward when you're doing it. So again, you still wanna have your level of shoulder depression when you're here. If the shoulder is back like this, and if we're pulling, we're keeping this chest and shoulder up in one spot while we're just flexing from the elbow. Now again, to make it harder, we just do this, right? Again, keeping the shoulder in a fixed position, where you're just pulling up. Now I'll probably walk a little closer, but from here, pulling right up, and having the elbow a little bit in front of my body will give me a lot much more stress. Now if I pull this way, it'd be the same idea. If I was close to when I was pulling in, right? It's like a drag curl. If I want it harder, step back a bit and pull up. Just making sure we create that shoulder depression to keep the shoulders fixed so we're not rolling the shoulder up, chest up, and pulling. So we're pretty much through this workout almost, but I can tell you right now it's a good workout. It's a very good workout to follow, very good split. I'm totally down for it. I'm gonna do it myself probably anyway. Just like I like doing other people's workouts to see how it actually feels in itself, but how it's laid out, I like it. So a couple of the moves we're doing obviously just a lateral raise using the bench in that chest support way. And how is that beneficial? Again, it's gonna take away the momentum so we can isolate basically by laying on it. Again, I did examples of this in my rear delt video, but again, if we want, to utilize this to still hit our lateral head, again, we don't want to be too far in front. And also this is kind of pulling, so we're just basically standing up anyway. So to kind of give yourself a little bit more of an angle, just like he had in the video. But when we're doing this, again, we don't want to hyperextend, right? We just want to pull from your core. So when you're pulling from here, pulling up, we're engaging from here. So you can see how everything stays when I'm pulling up from here and pulling out to the side, I'm not doing this. So when I'm pulling, you can see where the tension is gonna go when it comes to my shoulders. So weight-wise, I mean, obviously I can do a little more than this, but when it comes to these movements, when you're isolating and you're giving yourself that help in taking the tension out of your back by using chest-supported exercises, you can do more when it comes to keeping yourself engaged and engaging your core when you pull. And that way you can just literally focus on your form more than anything when you're here. And then think about when you're doing any of these movements that you do every rep exactly identical. So take a couple peeks in the mirror and see what you look like from the first rep to the last rep, and make sure that we're exactly the same no matter how hard the rep looks. Now at this point here, if it starts to get hard, do pendulums or basically pulses, keeping your weights a little further away from your body and just opening up, pushing away. Think about pushing away, not lifting up. We're trying to push a door away and doing this and then controlling where it starts and finishes. So you don't want to let it in and doing this. You want to push it out, pull it in. Push out, pull in. Pull in. Push out, pull in. All right, so we got push-ups. Yes, I'm gonna coach a push-ups because a lot of people don't do push-ups right? A push-up is a modified plank. It's the progression of a plank. A plank on your elbows, plank on your hands, and then doing an actual push-up is a modified plank. So we're doing this again from the side, shoulders, hands are under the shoulder, we're stacking the joints. Regardless if we're doing close or not, he's doing them close grip for triceps. I wanna stack the joints so over top, right? And if you can see from my hips down, I'm engaging my core so I have a little bit of a flat back. I don't want this. I don't want my butt to be like this, like I'm trying to twerk in a plank position. Bop, 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 bop. We don't want that, okay? We want this, we're flat, and from here, elbows are pulling back and up. And even though your weight's sitting on your palm here, you're still pushing with your fingers, just like your toes, right? So we can get everything working and pushing. Right, my chest my core, everything should go down at the same time, not my back kind of this way, then this hits and my chest is all the way up here. We wanna look like this at the lowest part so we're even the whole way and up. When I stop at the bottom, everything should be exact same, like distance from the floor. Not here, not here, not here, here, and up. Okay, so in his video, he has a reverse pec deck, but so he's using the bench again for stabilization and for leverage. Again, when we're here, we want to minimize, and he's doing it a lot. You can see when he's doing it, he's extremely, like he's like this, right, when we're pulling. So regardless of what machine you have, how you look from here, whether you're here or hips behind or your feet behind your hips, we want to be still in a position where we're straight to be able to pull. Right, so whether my feet are down, directly down behind my hips, or they're in front, I want my core to be engaged and my lower back, like my lower back still to be engaged. So like basically engage your core, right? If I don't engage my core and let it out, my butt does this. You can see my donkey butt. I'm doing the seated torque. If you look like you're seated twerking, you're not in a good position, right? So from here, just tight from here, and when you're pulling, remember, almost like you're trying to pull yourself into the bench and opening up. You can bend your elbows a little bit, but make sure your shoulders are down and pulling back and keeping a neutral spine so we're not doing this. This doesn't help. You're not helping your range of motion. This helps. The big difference between this and this, right? This and this. All the same. Pulling back. Now, I'm not a huge fan of doing overhead extensions with the cable, dumbbell, whatever. It's not my favorite. I find that there's way better exercise to do than that. So if anything, to be honest, just do, press down, right? Or extension. Okay, remember we're doing this to keep the elbows pushing down. Same thing with the biceps. The closer we are here, the less tension we're gonna have, right? And range of motion. So we want to make sure we're pulling out elbows in front when we're doing this, right? Now, if you are going to do them from the ground, standing, I recommend seated. So I see this all the time, guys. We don't have to lower it all the way down here if we're standing. Why do you have to lower it here and then be like, and then we're standing, look how high it is. Look where the tension needs to be. If I'm flexible enough, I'll let my arms kind of hang back like this. Kudos to my yoga instructor and this sweet range of motion back here, eh? You like that? Anyway, back to this, sorry. If you see where the bottom of this is, I could probably put the cable at that height. So like it looks around, say like, I don't know, half of my body. So if I just kind of like pull it up to half, I don't have to really do much. Look, I'm in the same place. And then I don't have to go all the way go here and be like, let's do this, man. You don't, right? So, right, place it so it's far. So when you're done, you don't have to do this awkward, this thing after, right? So it's super simple, like adjust it a bit. Even here, look at this, watch this. Look, there's tension still. I have enough, right? Now, when we're doing this, again, I recommend doing these if you have the mobility to, because to do these properly, we want to get as much of our elbows pointing forward as possible. So internally rotating from the shoulder. So if you don't have that, it's gonna be pretty difficult. Plus, this is gonna be good in the elbows after a while. It sucks. All right, so we're doing this again. Gives a little bit of the forward lean, elbows in tight, and I'm pulling up, hammer. Hammer through, right? Now for those who are gymnasts and whatnot, I would recommend still pressing and protracting as well, or shoulder elevation, so you can keep that shoulder still moving through a good full range of motion, keeping the elbows in front as much as you can. Now if it's too hard to do that and it's getting hard to keep them away, push these guys together so it's easier to pull this way and we can just pull up. and then we're done. Just walk back, not that far down. We're good. There you got it, right? So overall, really good workout. Really good actually. I do recommend watching his full video, get some ideas, really good coaching there, but take some of these cues that I used for your own training. This, just because it's for his workout that I, basically critiqued, doesn't mean you can't take all of this to your training. Put it into every one of your workouts that you do. All this is transferable. Anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and share. Become what I tell like it is. Transparent, vulnerable truth. We're coaching, johnshoe.com. If you guys want to know about coaching, book a 15 or 30-minute consult. We can talk about training, nutrition, supplementation, mental health. Whatever it is, guys, it's your time. We talk about everything, get to know what I do and what I represent to the core. Then at the end of that, if you guys want to go with coaching, whatever plan it is, I deduct a consult. Any package that you pick. And guys, look at the description below. Make sure you guys hit those discount codes or promo codes that help save your life or change your life for the better. And guys, add me to Instagram and TikTok. Send me your progress pics, your training pics, and your video clips, and I'll repost it for you because you know how it is. Iron sharpens iron, progressive overload your life. In the meantime, keep dream chasing. Peace. Boink.